What's poppin' YouTube? A Crazy Canuck here, and welcome to the channel. In today's video, I want to talk about the Resident Evil 1 Platinum. If you've been following along, we have finally completed our long Platinum journey. This was my Platinum experience. Let's get into it. En route to Platinum, we had to knife, run, collect, and even fight what we couldn't see.
So, as for the difficulty, length, and amount of playthroughs, according to PSN Profiles, which should be every trophy hunter's best friend, scored a 5 out of 10, a whopping 6 playthroughs, and 30 hours. Now, keep in mind, all these numbers are suggestive. The 5 out of 10, I feel like, is pretty bang on. Like, there was nothing overly difficult, but it was a pretty decent challenge. The amount of playthroughs, I feel like 6 is the recommended. You could do it probably in 5, or you could probably do it in 7, but like the sweet spot is 6, I would say. In 30 hours, I feel like that's a little give or take. It might take you a little less, it might take you a little more, but in the end, I think these numbers are pretty accurate, and you can't go wrong with PSN Profiles. As for the actual trophy list itself, it is composed of 28 bronze trophies, 15 silver, 1 gold, and 1 platinum, of course, totaling a total of 45 trophies. So, to kick off our first of many playthroughs to make this most efficient as possible, I opted to go with finish the game using only your knife. No lighter, no defensive items, and no stomping zombie heads. Sounds crazy, right? And believe me, it kind of was. In the process of earning this trophy, we earned The Nightmare Ends, finished the game saving Rebecca and Jill using Chris. Sorry I Made You Wait, saved Jill from confinement using Chris. Save Rebecca from a hunter. Save Richard with a serum. Save Chris using Rebecca. Now this one's kind of missable. So with Bravo Rebecca, the first time you see Jan where you get the death mask, you have to let him poison you, and then after that you get a cutscene where you're just kind of all like out of it and in a daze, and you play as Rebecca. You run back to like the safe room with all like the different medicines where you get the serum for Richard, and you use it on Chris. Defeat a zombie, die for the first time, and finish the game using Chris. So I guess I probably should have said this before, but the reason why we're doing Chris with the knife through is 1, he starts with the survival knife, and 2, if you're doing this the most efficient way possible, there's only 2 playthroughs with Chris. The knife through and the invisible enemy mode, which means during your knife through, not only do you only have to use a knife, you have to save Jill and Rebecca, which obviously isn't that hard. I mean, Rebecca's a little bit more difficult because there's a hunter there, but Jill, you just get the ammo discs and you unlock her at the end of the game, and life is gravy. The saving grace with the knife through is you don't actually have to kill a whole lot of zombies. Like, you can to kind of make things easier, but then they're going to come back as Crimson Heads, and that's no good. So the only ones you actually really have to kill, if I remember right, is the Crimson Head prototype in the coffin, the Cerberus, Plant 42, Jan's second encounter, and then obviously you have Queen Neptune, who you electrocute, and then Lisa Trevor, who you just push the stones off the ledge and then she offs herself. Now, because we're saving everybody, you're going to have to fight Tyrant twice. And believe me, you don't want to do that in invisible enemy mode. It's much better to do it with a knife, even though it's kind of challenging. The first time you fight him in the lab isn't horrible, but the second time on the helipad is kind of annoying. Now, I know if you don't signal the rockets until a certain time, it cuts down the fight drastically, but it's still kind of annoying. Like, to go kind of run around and try and knife him, and he's running, and he does a whole lot of damage. But I would say once you get past the Crimson Head, Plant 42, and Tyrant's the hardest part in this whole thing. Like, Yawn, the second encounter Yawn does take a while because he has a lot of health in the library, but the fight's easy. You can probably do it without getting hit. No problem. I think that concludes the knife through. One thing I do want to point out is if I could do this again, with the knowledge I have now, I think I would have opted for a blind playthrough over going in with a knife, because this is my first introduction to the Resident Evil franchise, and to jump into a brand new game you've never played before and you don't really know what to expect. The only thing I knew about Resident Evil going into this was zombies and lots of playthroughs. And I think using the knife kind of not ruined the experience, but it definitely hindered the initial playthrough. The more times you play through this game, the more and more I like this game, and it's an absolute banger. But going through that with the first knife and just being kind of restrained to that took some of it away from the overall experience. But nonetheless, we got through it, and it was actually a really good game. I'm happy I did this one, and I can't wait for the next one. Which brings us to our second playthrough, Every Nook and Cranny. Now, I said this in the initial video, the trophy description is kind of misleading. It says visit all places on all maps, which is true, but it's not the entire requirement for this trophy. You have to pick up every single item, whether it be healing, ammo, notes, diaries, maps themselves, and all that accumulates to every nook and cranny, except for the signal flares. I don't know, as soon as you get to the helipad, this trophy pops if you've cleared the mansion, courtyard, residence, Lisa's cabin, lab, all the places. If they're all white on your map, this trophy will pop as soon as you get to the helipad. And like Chris, we are going to be saving everybody. So we're going to finish the game saving Chris and Barry using Jill, save Chris from confinement using Jill, save Barry from Lisa Trevor, save Jill using Barry. On top, we are going to burn up a zombie to earn not taking any chances. Break out the marshmallows, burn up 2 zombies at the same time with the lighter, finish the game using Jill, and take that zombies. Finish the game on normal difficulty or higher. I guess I should have mentioned this too. For the knife only, do it on very easy. I feel like that's kind of self-explanatory, but like taking candy from baby should be earned on the knife through. As far as every nook and cranny goes, you're going to want to use Jill and on normal. The reason to say normal and not easy or very easy is because the higher the difficulty, the least amount of items you're going to have to collect. So by all means, you could do it on hard. However, you have to do the game on true survivor anyway, which pops the difficulty for playing on hard as well. So if you do it on hard, I feel like you're hindering yourself, kind of. There's less items, but they do more damage. So you can take your pick your poison. I went on normal.
and then did True Survivor, so you're only doing one playthrough in hard, really. Now, you're going to want to use Jill. And after the knife through, Jill is going to be a breath of fresh air. Not only does she have more inventory slots, but she gets a grenade launcher. And you can use weapons, I guess, which goes hand in hand with the grenade launcher. But between the grenade launcher and the Magnum you get with the Windcrest, whoo, look out. This game really opens up, especially if you're like me and used the knife the first time you're ever playing this. It is a completely different experience. Now, as far as saving everybody and getting Barry to save Jill. So, to get Barry to save Jill is very situational, and I'm not 100% sure what actually triggers this. The only time I had this scenario pop up was during this playthrough. And after you exchange the fake key from the dog collar with the real key in the death trap room, I beelined it to the other side of the mansion where you pick up the shotgun. And now, normally you would exchange the broken shotgun for the real one to avoid the death trap, but you don't want that. You just want to pick up the normal shotgun, exit the room, the ceiling's gonna come down slowly, and you're gonna try both doors, and when you try and re-enter the room with the shotgun, you're gonna get a cutscene where Barry saves Jill. And the flip side, when you return the favor and you can save Barry, which unfortunately we will be doing, when you fight Lisa Trevor, you're going to get an option on whether to give Barry his Magnum back or not. And you are going to want to give him the Magnum back in order to save him. And then for Chris, it's the same thing as saving Jill. You just get the MO discs, you put them in the players, and after the self-destruct, you go down to the jail, and you free him, trophy pops. And just like with the knife through, you're going to have to fight Tyrant twice. But this time, it's so much easier. You have a Magnum at your disposal from the Windcrest if you got it. You're going to have grenade launchers. It's just, oh, it's so much better. Jill, they made Chris so bad. He sucks compared to Jill. I don't know why. They thought it was a good idea to give Chris a lighter and Jill a grenade launcher. Like, that's not even a comparison. We're getting off topic. Anyway, that's what we're going to be doing in this playthrough. And for the breakout the marshmallows trophy, burn up 2 zombies at the same time, I thought this one was actually going to be more difficult than it actually was. Really, all you need to do is pop 2 zombies that are really close together, and then when you light them with kerosene, they should both catch on fire, and you pop the trophies. And this could be a 2-for-1. If you haven't burned a zombie before getting this trophy, you're going to get 2 trophies for 1. So there's that. And I believe that is all for the Nook and Cranny playthrough. Which brings us to the survival horror. Finish the game in real survival mode. Now, you might be thinking, well, what's the difference between hard and real survival? There's only 2 differences. 1, there's no aim assist. And 2, the item boxes are not connected. For this playthrough, we're gonna get every woman for herself. Finish the game without saving anyone using Jill. Which is actually gonna be quite nice because you only have to fight Tyrant once, and that is in the lab. So that'll be a nice little boost. Other than that, everything else is the same. You don't give Barry the Magnum, and then you can pick up his gun, he dies. Other than that, this playthrough is pretty straightforward. And now, Ghost of a Chance. Finish the game in invisible enemy mode. In addition to invisible enemy mode, we are going to be using Chris, and we are going to finish the game without saving anyone. And again, we're going to avoid a second tyrant encounter. We're only going to fight him in the lab, and that is it. So, for invisible enemy mode, I did this on very easy, and it took me about 4 hours and 30 minutes without a guide. Now, something unique to this mode and real survival is you cannot use the infinite ammo weapons. So no Samurai Edge, no infinite rocket launcher if you have it. That is part of the reason why I kind of layered the playthroughs in the order that I did them in, because there's no point to have done the speed run before this point. Now, if you're feeling ballsy, you could put this on normal and using a guide get this down within 3 hours and eliminate a playthrough or two. At least one playthrough for sure. Going into this mode, I heavily underestimated it. Huge. I thought it's going to be very easy. I'm going to go in here and just run through it, not going to save, and go about my business. And well, that was absolutely not the case at all. This proved to be more difficult and annoying than I thought it was going to be. And when it's invisible enemies, they weren't kidding. I thought, like, how invisible can they be? And turns out, very. You cannot see them at all, except for reflections. And the Cerberus and the Hunters, you can see, like, their drool. But other than that, they are completely invisible, which is actually kind of cool. The one thing that was really neat about this was having 6 or 7 playthroughs. Each one felt unique and different. Each challenge made this game feel fresh, which I feel like is extremely hard to do when you're doing the same things in the same order 5 or 6 times. So something I did for invisible enemy mode and for the speed runs was I had a list of all the items I needed in front of me. Just the key items in the order, just in case, like, if I ever came to a crossroads and I couldn't quite remember what I needed for that exact moment, it was right in front of me and eliminated some backtracking. You don't have to use it, but just something that will make life easier. Which brings us to don't stop running. Finish the game in 3 hours. Now, if you get this before you finish the game in 5, obviously you pop both racing and pacing and don't stop running. However, if you don't, that's okay too. If you finish the game in 5 but not 3, it is A-OK. We are getting towards the final steps of the platinum. So the thing about the 2 speed runs are they have to be done on normal. You can pop the trophy on easy or very easy. So when I did my invisible enemy run in 4 hours and 30 minutes, I popped the 5 hours, but I didn't get the Samurai Edge because it has to be done on normal. And same with the infinite rockets. So if you complete the game in 3 hours, but it's not on normal, yeah, you'll get the trophy for Don't Stop Running, but you won't get the infinite rockets that go towards getting all weapons. So that is something super important, but it's nothing to stress about. Like, you can get this done no problem. I actually, when I did this Don't Stop Running trophy, I was only aiming for racing and pacing to get the infinite ammo pistol to make the 3 hours easier, but in the nick of time, I was able to do it in just under 3 hours to get both and pop the trophy. So you don't have to use a guide. If you're feeling like you need one, by all means use one. I just had my list of items and that was enough. And it gives you a lot of leeway. Like, it wasn't a perfect run that I did by any means. There's a lot of backtracking and this and that,
And still, I was able to do it in 3 hours. So don't get intimidated. It's really not that bad at all. You can do it. Which brings me to the last 2 trophies I needed to earn that platinum. The first one being Spider Sense, defeat Black Tiger, and Ink is for Squids, finish the game without saving. So the reason I saved Ink is for Squids and Spider Sense for the last 2 trophies I needed for platinum was simple. Infinite rocket launchers. They took out anything that would have caused any kind of issues whatsoever. And I guess you could have gotten Spider Sense whenever, but I felt like, why am I going to sit there for a couple minutes and knife it or struggle? Just blast them and boom, pop goes the trophy. But yeah, I was able to do it in 2 hours and 30 minutes with a rocket launcher and just blasting everything in sight, going through it super easy in one sitting, obviously. So this was my platinum experience for Resident Evil 1. I think this game is so worth your time to grind. Don't get intimidated by the number of playthroughs. Don't get intimidated by the trophies. You're going to do it just fine. This game is so good. I recommend it to each and every single one of you that haven't played it yet, or at least on the fence. This has been my platinum experience. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys on the next one.